Welcome. Thanks for being here. We're going to go ahead and begin, and I'm going to invite God to join us, if you'll pray with me. Thank you, God, for beautiful sunshine today. It's so nice to see that, and thank you for providing that for us. Thank you for loving us so much. Thank you for loving us so much that you sent your Son, and what an example he was. Pray that you will help us be more like him every day. Thank you for the blessings of your church, and for the opportunity we have to spend some time together this evening and maybe just kind of learn a little bit about ourselves so that we can improve our relationships with each other, and knowing that when we are loving each other, we're loving you. So thank you for that. There's lots of stuff that we do that we know we shouldn't. And so we pray your continued forgiveness. And we love you for that. Thank you for Jesus Christ. And it's in his name I pray. Amen.
All right, some of you have probably started off by kind of like maybe before coming to the class looking into like trying to figure out your number. That's great. I'm glad of any research you've put in already. I'm glad that you got online and taken some tests. But I want to start off by telling you that online test is not 100%. That computer doesn't know you, and you are answering questions in the moment how you feel. If you are stressed out in that moment of taking that, that's going to skew your answers. If you're thinking about what do I want to be, and you're trying to answer because you kind of already, somebody's told you you're a number and you're trying to answer based on that number, that can skew your answers. So I want you to know, any online test you take, I'm glad that you've taken that and you're trying to put in some work to figure out who you are, because that is good. But don't just say, I'm 100% this. So we'll try to use a language in this class throughout that I identify with. Currently, I identify with the number, and so we'll just try to use that language and not have a hard set, I'm this, I'm not changing my mindset, because based on what some computer told me. You with me with that? So this is a personality thing, and I want you to know our personalities, they come from God, and they're very different, and they're unique and awesome, and we are just trying to hone in on that and find some things. But there are lots of things out there that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. This one right here I find most hilarious, but based on your body type is your personality. And their studies show that, but it was just like, the big people, we're not assertive. Obviously, we sit around and eat potato chips, and we're not assertive. And I would like to meet this guy so I can have a word with him, because I am assertive. But he just had this whole thing, and this is a study that went on. This one, right, Joe, what was this one again? This is something in ancient Greek.
Hippocrates.
Yeah, Hippocrates, and he just said based on the amount of fluid in your body had to do with your personality. Like if you have more blood, or you have more yellow bile, black bile, or phlegm, would base how your personality is. And there's tons of research poured into that. A lot of you know this one. Raise your hand if you know Myers-Briggs. A lot of us know Myers-Briggs. I did Myers-Briggs in high school. I loved Myers-Briggs. I'm an ENFJ or P. In high school, I was a J. Now that when I take it more recently, I'm a P. I was 51-49 either way, both times when I do that percentage right there. But there's tons of research poured into this. But when I found out how this was created, I was just like, it really was a couple of ladies who were just bored and was like, let's come up with something. It wasn't some scientist that was back there like, this is hard fact stuff. And that's how tons of these things are done. But personalities are very unique, and there's a lot. This one right here, I loved this one. This is the one I did with my interns for a long time. It's just 4 animals, and you figure out which animal you are, and it's just an otter, a beaver, a Labrador, or a lion. So you're confident, you're fun, you're a worker, or you're loyal kind of idea. And I was an otter, of course, I'm fun. So that was my animal. So the Barnum effect, have you heard of this before? Barnum effect is this is big in constellation. So if you're into, what's it called? Zodiac, so you're astrology. If you're big into your zodiac and you look that stuff up and you're like, and it's funny, me and Joe looked it up for today and it said, you're going to have a new relationship forming that can have great results. Me and Joe teaching this class, they just knew what I was doing. But the thing is, they'll tell you something about yourself and you will work a way into believing that because it tells you something about yourself. So this can happen with all these personalities. And I did this when I was in college. I remember my Chinese zodiac is a tiger. It's the year I was born, and it talked about how much a leader I was and how assertive I am. And I think I've started to embody those things more because I was told that I was that. And I was like, I do want to be assertive. I am a leader. Get behind me. I felt that. And so I started doing it more. So I want you to be careful of when you read through the Enneagram with us, when we're working on this and you find something you're like, well, I think I'm a 9 and it says 9 should be like this. Well, I'm going to start being like that. Like, no, don't do that. Don't change who you are because you're thinking that's where you fit, because I've seen that happen with people and they're trying to make themselves be a number they're not really. So just be careful with that. But that's the Barnum effect, of the idea of you hear it and you're told that you are and you become that. So I'll hit the slide. Joe got some stuff.
All right. So the book has flashed up a couple times. This is not a textbook that we're using for the class, but this is a great introduction to the Enneagram, and certainly through like a spiritual basis for the Enneagram. It's called The Road Back to You. You can check it out if you like, but we're not going to be using it as a textbook or anything like that, but I recommend that. I found a real interesting quote in one of the introductions in the book. And it kind of goes along with what Jesse was just talking about. It described the Enneagram as, and I'm going to read it just right, an archaic, historically questionable, scientifically unsupported personality typing system. That was from the author of the book about an Enneagram, from the author themselves. I thought that was very fascinating. And what it is it's hard to kind of get a handle on what exactly is all of this, because we're talking about personalities and they're so hard to scientifically prove and all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of mystery and stuff surrounding the Enneagram and where it came from. It's a tool. It's a tool that we can use to learn about ourselves. It's not scripture. You know, it's not like we find this in the Bible. Can it help us be a better Christian? Yes. But this is not from God. We're not Joseph Smith. We didn't get this from from any angel or anything. It's just, that's what it is. We've got a tool, and we're going to try and use it to the best of our ability. There's lots of theories about personality. I am not a personality master of any kind whatsoever. I'm just a student. I'm trying to help guide a lesson and a series of lessons on what I've read and helping with Jesse doing the same thing. We're still working through this. Okay, so there's no expertise here necessarily. There's not a bunch of letters after our names that give us any kind of qualifications other than I have a JR at the end of my name.
He's a junior.
Hey, all right, there we go. But our personalities, when we were in the womb, everything was just nice and safe, and it was a great place. But even from our very first moments outside the womb, we learned that life can be tough. Life can be hard. It might be a struggle, because what's the very first thing we did? We tried to breathe. And we couldn't even do that without struggle. I mean, when you think about it, just from the very beginning, our life was a struggle. And so we learned that there's pain, there's struggle, there's hurt, there's disappointment, there are challenges in this world. And from the best I can understand, our personalities are kind of a result of our dealing with all of these struggles and all of these challenges. And so it's kind of what we came up with as a way to face the world and a way to protect ourselves. And so our personalities have kind of become armor. We kind of use it to kind of shield ourselves, to kind of guard ourselves, to lessen the hurt and to lessen the pain and to kind of not make it so bad. The problem that a lot of us face, well, that we all face, is when we start to confuse that armor for who we truly are, for our true self. We kind of put this shield out there to protect ourselves, and our personality kind of becomes that protection, and we take that and say, you know what, that's who I really am, which really it's just about trying to protect ourselves. So I just want to remind us that it's just protection. So this armor keeps us from seeing our true self, and sometimes it causes trouble with our relationships. And that's part of what we really want to focus on here is building better relationships, because when we think that this is us instead of the real us, it just starts messing all sorts of things up. And it can cause us all sorts of problems. John Calvin, he said, without knowledge of self, there is no knowledge of God. That's a pretty weighty, deep statement there to just throw out there at you like that, but wow, we have to know ourselves, kind of what he says, before we can really know God. Got to really understand who we are. How many times have we known people that knew what the Bible said, or they knew what they should do, they knew right and wrong, but they still just messed all sorts of things up, messed up their relationships and different things like that. Sometimes it's just because we haven't really fully known who we are. And so the Enneagram is just a tool that helps provide an awareness of this armor system. It kind of helps us understand what these armor patterns are. And so by that helps us kind of release those. We can kind of loosen our grip on this, these things that kind of can sometimes hold us back. And so each number on the wheel, you've seen the Enneagram wheel. Each number on the wheel represents a different personality, kind of a different personality armor that we use as people, and that we kind of have used to deal with life's surprises. Just a fun way of saying the pain and the hurt that we've always tried to, that we're trying to avoid. So that's just kind of a brief overview of where we're headed with this. There's a guy by the name of Richard Rohr that he takes it to a whole new spiritual level. Check it out sometime. You can catch him on YouTube. You can read some of his books or whatever. But he really gets into the spiritual battle side of the Enneagram and who we really are, and just fighting the dark forces in this world and making life better for us ultimately. So, but it teaches us there's 9 different types. But before we kind of get into each of those 9 different types, we're going to do a little preview of them. But before we get into those, Jesse's going to go over a few ground rules for us.
Yeah, before the ground rules, just personal testimony real quick. Me personally, my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, and my patience with other people have never been better because of this stuff that I've studied for like a year and a half now. I'm on like my 6th book. I just really enjoy it. But my relationship with God, because I've started to figure out who I am and what spiritual disciplines that I struggle with doing that make me grow. I don't like silent time. I don't like really quiet, go sit by myself prayer time. That makes me grow. And I understand that. And I just always thought, well, that's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. No, that needs to be my thing if I want to grow. Just learning to understand that. Learning to understand other people, guys. It is just a blessing to really go through some of this stuff. And so that's what we're really hoping is just fits into our others theme so well, is my patience with other people. It's like, you didn't really mean to be a jerk. That's just kind of how you're wired, and your initial thoughts came out. And you were just surprised. They're really not trying to be a jerk. Their initial thoughts hit me as you're a jerk, but they're not. And my patience for them is just tremendous. And so here's a few rules that we're going to go over in this. So some rules are be 100% present. That doesn't mean be here every time. And me and Joe try to build a class so you don't come and all we do is talk about one number. We're going to talk about every number every time. So you get a little piece of you every time, but also a piece of everybody else. We don't want you to come like, oh man, I'm not going to be here in my session. Like I really wanted to hear about 4s or whatever. We are going to build it so you can be there, but be 100% present. Don't tune out when it's not your number, because it, again, is important to hear the other numbers. Rule 2, don't use this as an excuse when you find out your number. I give Danny a hard time about this, because sometimes he'll just like, well, I'm an 8, so you know. No, you don't get to, you know. That means this is your moment to grow. You get to step out and grow in this moment. So don't use this as an excuse when you find out, well, I'm just kind of an introverted, lax personality. That doesn't mean you just get to be introverted and lax. That means there's a time to grow. And so don't use this as an excuse when you figure it out. Whoops. Sorry. And don't use it to make fun of, criticize, stereotype, or disrespect others. I am very guilty of this.
Especially.
So I am definitely guilty of that. Like I find out your number and I like to pick at the things or whatever, but no, it's not good because it does make you self-conscious of your number, and you're already going to be self-conscious of it. If we go through this study and you're just like, I just really love my number, that's not your number. Your number should be something you don't like, because it just makes you feel uncomfortable that we know the bad parts of you. Like you should feel, like your face should start feeling warm when we talk about some of the numbers in depth, because you're like, man, how did I think like that? So that's important. So if you're just like, I really love my number, that's probably not you. Don't make fun of people. Spend your energy bettering yourself. I promise some of you are going to come and you're going to start figuring out people in your life. You're like, oh, my brother's a 7, or so my daughter is definitely a 3. And you're going to say, Jesse, how can I fix them? Joe, how can I fix this person? The best thing you can do for them, your relationship with God, every answer in here is become a better you. Become a better you. So when you come and say, Jesse, because I'm a 7, and you're going to want to ask me about 7s. You're going to be like, Jesse, so I think my daughter's a 7, and I was just wondering, is there a way I can get her to calm down? And I'm going to say, be a better version of your number. Be more patient with them. Love them more. Because you can't fix how they're wired. And they're going to become a better version of their number the more you can love them. And you can see how that's real biblical right there. Jesus didn't come to fix all of us and cure us, that kind of thing. He came to be him and love us because he knew that's the way he's gonna go through it. That was the cure. So that's the fix.
And that is so hard, because the very first Enneagram study I ever did, I opened up my book and I was, okay, that's me. Okay, that's Sherry. Oh, there's Max. Oh, and I started labeling them all. And I went through and every time I came across, well, oh, that's and that's so hard to not, oh, that's them. And you're trying to fix it. No, work on yourself.
Work on yourself. It's okay to figure out their number, because you're going to know how to love them and cater for them and be better for them. But it's about how you can do for them, not what they can do for you. And so we're going to take an oath right now. This is important. So you just repeat after me. You just say, I will never.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, raise your hand. Ever tell someone else their number. We are not, let them self-discover their number. It is such a joy to have the moment. This is me. I hate me. But there's a good moment in there when you discover who you are. Don't take that from someone else. And if somebody comes to you like, help me out, I'm really struggling between these two numbers, maybe you could, and this is, again, it's a language thing. Use this language. Say, well, when I interact with you in those moments, I experience you as a 2 because this and this. Don't tell them they're a 2. Don't tell them their number. But just say, maybe I kind of experience you as this one. I can see how you can think that. Just make sure it's their self-discovery. You with me? So yeah, I'm sure, and and like Richard talks about in the video Joe referenced to, he said this can be a parlor game. It could be, we're just afterwards, we're all talking about our numbers and having a great time, and it's just about us and that kind of stuff. But it could be so much deeper than that if you let it. If you just want it to be a casual conversation, we're at a party, hanging out, great. But if you want it to be more than that, it can.
Jesus himself, in Sermon on the Mount, said, hey, you might notice a plank in somebody else, a speck in somebody else's eye. Get that plank out of your own eye.
Yeah.
Work on yourself. Don't be looking at other people trying to figure out their faults, their kind of ways and things. Work on yourself. So.
All right, so this is what the Enneagram looks like if you haven't got a chance to see it. And so these lines all mean something. All the numbers mean something. You can see how they're connected. And that also means something. We will go into depth on some of the words we'll say. I will give you a couple of pieces right now, but you don't have to stick with this. So whatever your number is, if you hear the term wing, a wing is, so if you're a 1, your wing can be 2 or 9. If you're 9, it's 1 or 8. Does that make sense? It's just the 2 numbers right next to it in the circle. Everybody with that? That's your wing. So that's, if you figure out you're a 1 and you're like, but I have a lot of 2 in me also, then you're probably a 1-winged 2. That means you have some personality of the 2 in you also. So we won't dive into that deep tonight, but if you hear us say the word wing, that's what we mean. And also stress and health. There's a stress and health number. So as a 7 in health, I go to 5. So when I'm really into myself, when I have a good grasp of who I am, honestly, when I'm connected to God, I can move to this number and I take on a lot of positive traits of this number. And that's very true. As a 7, if I get stressed, and stress isn't always a bad thing. When I say stress, I know everybody thinks stress, it's terrible. It actually can be a good thing. I need stress sometimes because 1s, 7s are they're very unorganized and all over the place people. 1 is the exact opposite of that. So when I get stressed, I start making lists and I figure things out and I get all my chickens in a row and just that kind of thing. I get everything done. So I need that stress, but I also get very critical of other people and I want to point the blame too. So I take on the negative actions of that too. So that's that. We're going to go around. We're going to do a real brief thing on each number tonight just so you can kind of hear something on each number. And then we'll kind of, throughout the weeks, we'll kind of hit varieties of different numbers based on an aspect of it. So I'll start 1s, and we just feel like this book right here gives the best little mini summary, so we'll just kind of come straight from there for the most part. And I'm going to read from that. All right, so the 1 is they are ethnical, dedicated.
Ethical.
Ethical, dedicated, reliable. Their self-image is I am right. And so here's a big thing about the Enneagram I forgot to say is the Enneagram, why it's so different than all those other personality tests, and why this one is like, kind of, honestly, just it really separates it above the rest for me, is it's about motivation. It's not about random personalities thrown into a bucket and you come out. There's a core motivation inside who you are, and this is the thing you want. And so each number has a core motivation. So they're motivated by the desire to live the right way and improve the world. They avoid fault and blame. At their best, healthy 1s are wise, discerning, realistic, noble, and as well as morally heroic. 1s, we want to just kind of do this for a real life scenario. So there's a party going on. A 1 walks into the party, and what they'll do is they look around and they are a critical kind of thinker. They think critically, and so my wife's the 1, and I'm going to call her out sometimes. So she already knew it. But if she walks into a party, she can't help it. Some things are crooked, she notices. If you don't have the forks by the food, instead they're on the other end, or the ice isn't by the cups, she notices that stuff. She notices how you decorated something, and she thinks, I could have done that better. And you're just like, oh, that's a bad person, right? No, it's just how they're wired. It's okay that they think that way because they're thinking, I'm really good at that and I wanted to be able to do that. I could have done that. So that's how when they will come into the party. All right, Joe's gonna do even numbers.
All right, so the 2. Did you give the name associated with those?
Oh, sorry. 1. So this is another reason Enneagram does numbers and not like a name, but they have names just for help. But 1, the numbers don't carry baggage. But if I tell you that you're a 2 and you're a helper, helper has baggage. That automatically means something to you. But they do have those, so that's why we wanted to put the numbers up here only first. But 1 is perfectionist, is what they're called, the perfectionists. They want to be perfect, themselves and the things they do.
All right, so number 2 is a helper. Warm, caring, giving. Their self-image, their kind of armor that they put out there is they want to see they want people to see them as I help. That's what I do, and so that's what a 2 does. They're motivated by a need to be loved and needed, and so everything they do quite often is just so that they will get that from other people, and so they set themselves up to be needed or set themselves up to be loved. They avoid acknowledging their own needs. They'll sacrifice what they want in the situation so that you'll need them and you'll give up something, and so you can be needed and they'll love you. But they avoid acknowledging their own needs. At their best, healthy 2s are unselfish, altruistic, and have unconditional love for themselves and others. That's when they're really good and healthy. So they walk into a party, and there's a couple things that might be going on with that. The server might be overwhelmed with passing out drinks or something, and so they'll go over there and try and help out with that. They see people's needs, and so, oh, you need help with that. Or they walk into a party and they see someone over sitting on the corner by themselves. And we're like, well, that's kind of sad. What? We're having a party here, and they're over there in the corner by themselves. Let me go find out what's going on with them. And so they go over and want to try and get them involved in things. They want to try and they just kind of, hey, you know, how's it going? Just kind of provide something there. So that's kind of a number 2, the helper.
All right, the 3, success-oriented, image-conscious, wired for productivity. The 3's name is the Achiever. The 3's name is Achiever. Self-image, I am successful. They are motivated by the need to be, or at least appear, successful. They avoid failure. At their best, healthy 3's are self-accepting, authentic, and everything they seem to be, and through everything they seem to be a role model who inspires others. They walk into a party. 3's are quick to determine how the party sees success. Okay, so there's a competition that goes on at the party. Say we got a water chugging competition. The 3's like, I got it, give it to me. There's karaoke going on. They're over there working on like, all right, I'm gonna get this guy to turn on the spotlights at the right time. I'm gonna do some Michael Jackson moves. He wants to be the center of attention and successful, and however you see success. So if he attends a party that's based around a certain thing, so let's say if it's like, it's an accounting firm and he's just the spouse of that, he's gonna try to be knowledgeable about that before going so he can talk to them about it and appear successful. But even if he doesn't know a thing about it, he needs to appear competent in those moments and successful with that.
All right, number 4 is the individualist. They are creative people. They are sensitive, be a little moody, but their self-image is, I am different. They want to be original. They don't want to fit in with everybody else. They want to appear like they're different from everyone else. What they want to avoid is being ordinary. I want to stand out. But I'll get to this in just a second. At their best, a healthy 4, they are inspired and highly creative, able to renew themselves and transform their experiences. But here's kind of one of the ways that they will try to stand out from the crowd. They walk into a party. Now, they may have either made the ice sculpture that's on the table ahead of time, you know, and you'll never know it, or they may sit over in the corner hoping a 2 comes by and notices them. Everyone's out here having a great time. They might be the one sitting over there just kind of chilling, and maybe somebody will notice me, is kind of their mentality. And once again, and these are big, broad strokes. And we're trying to sum it up really quickly, and we'll get into a lot more.
If you feel like part of something, you're like, I connected that half, but not this half. Don't rule it out. Don't just say, oh, that's off the board because he said this. Like, don't do that. It's important.
Yeah, okay.
So 5, my best friend's a 5. So he is analytical, detached, and private. He's motivated by the need to gain knowledge, conserve energy, avoid relying on others, and at their best, healthy 5s are visionary pioneers, often ahead of their time and able to see the world in an entirely new way. And they walk into the party and they observe. They may be the person standing off to the corner, not necessarily hoping someone will come talk to them, but they just like observing everyone. They observe, he's a jerk. That person's awesome. I really like this. I like what they got going over here.
The food line's not very efficient.
Yeah, if there's an efficiency problem, it's just like, I would have definitely done all these things differently, but that's okay. You know, it's just that's them. They're going to observe, but they're not going to come out and talk about it. They're not going to be openly critical. But if you ask a 5 their opinion, it's usually blunt and truth. 5's best gift we ever gave a 5 was this thing right here, because it's like, because you're around those people who are like, yeah, you know, Michael Jordan, like in '97, said some 5, 93. You can't throw out a fact around a 5. They're checking you, so it better be real. The 5's gonna check you, and the 5 also will go home and do a bunch of research, and they'll come back to that conversation next time and school you on it. It doesn't. It's not like super knowledge of like scholarly knowledge they need. It can just be like cartoons, and they'll just be this deep in it. Like, oh, no one knows cartoons like me. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it's just I'm going to investigate deeply on these things, so they go really deep into things.
All right, so 6 is called the loyalist. There are probably it's hard to really get a grasp of this, but there's probably more 6s in the United States than any other number. Everything I've read keeps pointing to 6s are the most popular, not just the most popular, but more people are 6s than any other.
35 to 50%, just depending on which scholar, which guy you ask. But
so they're committed, they're practical, they're witty, but they're also the worst case scenario thinkers. Okay, they tend to kind of be worried about stuff that have already thought through. Well, what could go wrong with this? Their self-image is, I do my duty, and so they're your. They show up at church on Wednesday nights. They're loyal. They do they show up to church on Sunday night. Well, it's because we're supposed to be there, kind of people. They're motivated by fear and a need for security. They want to feel that safety, and it's driven by fear. They try to avoid inappropriate behavior. They want to do what they're supposed to do. They want to do their duty, and they want to figure out what that is and make sure they follow the rules. At their best, healthy 6s are internally stable, self-confident, self-reliant, courageously supporting the weak and the powerless. They may walk into a party, and on the way in, there's a sign on the door that says, by order of fire marshal, maximum capacity is 50. And they walk in and they're going, man, there's like 75 people in here. If we have a fire, there's no way all these people are going to get out. I need to go tell somebody. I mean, they're looking for just what's the worst case scenario. If they're building a house, they've got a storm cellar. They've got a safety room in their house if they have that choice. So they're looking for the worst case scenario. There's kids outside playing in the street. Are there any parents here? We need to go take care of that. They're always kind of that worried, get safety kind of is kind of their issue. Kind of painting a negative there with that, but it's for they're loyal. They want to kind of do their duty.
All right, so 7. This is me. So you are fun, spontaneous, and adventurous. Self-image is I am happy.
Whatever.
Motivated by need, Joe. Don't make fun, Joe.
Oh yeah, that's the other.
Motivated by need to be happy, to plan stimulating experiences. They avoid pain. At their best, healthy 7s focus on the talents, on worthwhile goals, become joyous, highly accomplished, and full of gratitude. I walk into the party and I'm thinking the party hadn't started because I just arrived. And I'm sure most of you were waiting for me to get here so we can now have fun. And yes, 7s are arrogant, and it's a downfall.
We'll get to some of those things later on.
Yeah.
Number 8, they're the challenger. Commanding, intense, confrontational. Their self-image. And once again, when we talk about self-image, think, what's this armor that they've got outside that they want people to see them as? That's kind of their protection. Okay? So anytime we cover their self-image. So in 8's self-image, I'm strong. They're not going to appear weak. They're motivated by a need to be strong. And they avoid the feeling of weakness and vulnerability. They want to make sure that you don't see them as that. At their best, healthy 8s are self-mastering. They use their strength to improve others' lives, becoming heroic. Magnanimous, which means, I had to look it up. Yeah, I don't know. Generous, forgiving, especially towards less powerful. So when you think about that, they look out for weaker people. They're looking for the bullies out there so they can go and confront them. And when you think about it, that's I'm going to be strong for you. I'm going to appear strong for you. And there's always, with everything, there's some good and there's some tough spots with these. Anyway, so they want to appear strong. Okay, so also they're kind of this take charge leader kind of person. And so they may walk into a party and they're about to choose, captains for the game they're about to play or whatever. Whoop, sign me up, I'm there. I'll choose teams. Okay, you're over here, you're over here. And they start just taking charge. They're going to be decisive. They're going to, nope, you need to be over here. It can be confrontational a little bit. They might start arguing about the rules if they think they know the rules right. But they're not going to give any weakness off. It's going to be confident and strong.
All right, and last but not least, the 9. The 9 is pleasant, laid back, accommodating. These are the peacemakers. That's kind of their label. Their self-image is I am content, motivated by the need to keep the peace, merge with others. They want to avoid conflict. At their best, healthy nines are indomitable and all-embracing. They are able to bring people together and heal conflicts. And they walk into the party, and they also may be the person to the side, but they're going to figure out quickly where they fit, and they will merge so they can just kind of blend in. They just want to be a part of the party scene. They don't want to cause a ruckus and be the loud one that gets a lot of attention, because that may cause a conflict. They're not going to make a bold statement because it's going to cause a conflict. Nines aren't going to post politically on Facebook because it's going to cause a conflict.
They are content.
They are content. So they're going to walk in the party, they have issues. It's just like, well, we're out of punch, we're out of this. It's just like, they will keep it inside, but they're not going to go complain about it, really. They're going to be content with it. So that's kind of just real quick at a glance. Next week, just real quick, so just so you can start getting a grasp, we're going to talk about, so we'll talk about 3 numbers together, and these make up triads of how they think or how they act, how they respond. Okay, so next week we're going to talk about this one up here, and it's called the gut triad. Okay, and so these are people who act out of their gut instinct. They respond through instinct. Our 8, 9, and 1, they all respond through instinct. And we'll talk about these 3 numbers in depth a little bit more. And then we'll also kind of talk about how they connect to the other numbers too. The week after that, we'll talk about our heart triad. These are people who think with their heart, their feelings, wear their feelings on their shoulders. They may be our criers. And this one right here is our thinking triad. This is our head triad. So this is people who use their head. They try to use logic for a lot of it. But when I say crier, I'll cry a lot, but only for joyous reasons. I like to cry for joy. So we got a bit of a game we want to play. Joe, did you have anything else real quick?
So the sheets we passed around here, after we kind of close out here, what I'd like to do is, if you're curious and you have not yet taken the Enneagram quiz to see, maybe what type you are, and you've decided which of the paragraphs you are, I'll make those announcements after we do the video and close down. And so if you've already taken an exam, you kind of know generally who you are, that's fine. If you'd like to learn maybe, hey, here's who you are, I'll tell you which paragraphs go with which afterwards.
Yep. All right, so I made a little video we're going to show, and we're going to play a game of what number is this. All right, so on Sunday, if you were here Sunday, you saw the light bulb kind of skit thing Joe and I did. And this goes with it. All right, here we go.
We got sound?
Hopefully. If not, it'll be that loud back there.
We not checking. Oh, there we go.
We're in there. All right, so this is our light bulb skits, and there's 9 different ways to change the light bulb. Here we go.
Oh, hey, Jesse. Just the man I was looking for.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a light bulb out. It's in the closet up in the stairwell. I was wondering if you could change it out.
Yeah, man, I'd love to help. You need me to like wash some windows and stuff while I'm up there? I could probably reorganize that closet, but I'll have that thing looking spick and span. What number was that? 2. Danny now kind of knows things. All right, yes, it is 2. All right.
Watch out, Danny. Oh, hey, Jesse.
Yes, sir.
There's a light bulb that's out in this closet up in the stairwell, and I was wondering if you could go change that out for me.
Is this an incandescent bulb? Boy, does it have to be this bulb? I'd like to maybe do some research. Just only a few hours maybe of research. I'm going to spend my time on this. I'd like it to be done right.
Which one was that?
5.
5, yep, investigator.
Yeah, just what I was looking for. I wonder if you can go change out this light bulb. There's one out in the hall closet over here.
Okay, well, I'm going to need you to go flip the breakers off if you don't want any. I want to screw it in, get an electrical surge or pop or something, so we definitely need that to happen. I'm also going to need, probably should go get some rubber gloves. I think I got them in my car. I'll go get those. Maybe put like a little mat down in case I fall off the ladder. That's a good idea. Mark! What's up? Hold the ladder for me, man. We got a cop. Our favorite bulb.
All right, which one was that?
6.
6, yeah.
Oh, hey, Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody just called over to the office and said there's a light bulb out in the hall on the stairwell over here. Wonder if you change it out.
Yeah, sure. go take care of that. I got an idea how to do that too.
All right.
We're going to take our bolt, we're going to screw it in nice and firm. Here we go. Make sure we get that thing all the way in there. We'll turn the light on. Oh, that is nice and bright. That right there is high quality. And if you don't mind, just tune in next time on Home Improvements with Jesse, and we'll be doing some waterworks stuff. Let's go ahead and wrap that up, Marlon. Turn that into YouTube, because that is a moneymaker.
Who was that?
7.
Oh, that's not the 7.
No.
So it does kind of feel like the 7, but this is our achiever, because this achiever's other name is called the performer. So he is wanting to perform and do well and get those likes on YouTube and get those likes on Facebook to make sure everyone sees him as successful.
Oh, hey, Jesse.
Yeah, Joe.
Somebody just called and said the light bulb was out in the hall, in the closet of the stairwell. I was wondering if you could go change it out for me.
Joe, well, what's wrong with darkness? If I screw in this light bulb, it's just going to shed light on the world and just show how really dark it really is. It won't illuminate anything. Maybe it can illuminate my heart.
Maybe it can illuminate my heart. What number was that? 4. Yeah, that's our 4 right there.
Oh, hey, Jesse. Hey, Joe, man, I was looking for.
Yeah.
There's a light bulb that's kind of out in the closet up here.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you could go change it.
Go change it. Did it need changing? Or are we okay?
Yeah, it's out. It needs to
The old one's
change.
probably still fine, right? Did we vote? Like, is everybody on board with switching to this light bulb? I'm trying to rock the boat.
That's 9.
Yeah, that's our 9. That's our 9. Is this the bulb? You sure? Or did we vote?
I like that person.
Oh, Jesse, I'm glad I found you.
Yeah, what's up, Joe?
Hey, there's this light bulb that went out in the closet up in the stairwell over here, and I was hoping you could change it out.
You went to the closet and you saw the bulb was out and you didn't change it?
Well, yeah, but here, I got a light bulb for you.
What? We should definitely be using longer lasting bulbs than this. We're just going to have to change this again in like a month.
Action. Yeah, that's our 1.
Hey, Jesse, just the man I was looking for.
Yo, what's going on, Joe?
Yeah, there's this closet up here, and the light bulb went out, and so it's got really dark in there. I was wondering if you could go change the light bulb for me.
Kind of dark.
Yeah.
I ain't afraid of the dark. Who's afraid of the dark? Maybe that light bulb. I'll get somebody right on the mark. Yeah? Go change this light bulb. Thank you.
Who was that?
Yeah.
That Daddy. That's trying to embody Daddy right there. All right, that 1.
What's up, Joe?
So, there's this light bulb that's out in the hall closet over here,
Okay.
and I was wondering if you could go change it.
Yeah, man, I got a great idea for this. This light bulb is just not enough. This one.
What was that one? All right, so I hope you enjoy this. I know it's just like huge like brush strokes we're doing, like Joe talked about, and it's just we're all over the place right now. But come each week, and we're really gonna hone in on like a key part of the whole Enneagram look, the whole Enneagram study, guys. I'm excited to go through this process these next 13 weeks with you. It's gonna be some really cool, in-depth stuff. And please join us next week. We're gonna talk about those few. But again, come every week. Grab it all for what it's worth. I'll say a quick prayer, we'll be done. Joe, any last thoughts?
Yeah, just come and see me about the paragraphs there at the periods.
All right, let's pray. God, thank you so much for this opportunity, God, that we can try to get to know ourselves better. Get to know ourselves better so that way we can worship and be connected to you better, God. That we can be connected to your people better, God. That we can have patience with them and love them and care for them, even when we figure out that they don't think like we do. And that's okay, God. They're still your children. We love them deeply. Put that on our heart. We care for you. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.